We need to build a wall, and it has to be built quickly.
Good morning. It is 9:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. It is Monday, March 30th. We are still involved in a conflict with Iran. The government is still shut down. We still don't have a king. We're going to be talking about all these topics and more today. The phone lines are open for you as always, 615-737-9986. You can also text in on the same number. You can jump inside the chat on the YouTube channel as well. We're up and running on YouTube and Rumble. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Help us grow the digital footprint of the radio station. Again, a lot to get to today. We'll begin with Iran. The Strait of Hormuz is still the biggest hurdle we need to overcome. But President Trump last night on Air Force One says, guys, we're actually getting some boats through.
Boots on the ground, and would you do that without going to Congress?
I just have lots of alternatives.
Sorry, hang on one second. Wrong piece of audio. This is the one on the Strait of Hormuz and getting some boats through.
Getting a lot of the things that they should have given us a long time ago. We'll see how it works out, but they're very good. Moving along very nicely. They've destroyed a lot of additional targets today. The Navy's gone, the Air Force has gone, we know that. But we destroyed many targets today. It was a big day. And we are negotiating with them directly and indirectly. We have emissaries, but we also are dealing directly. And as you know, they've agreed to send 8 boats 2 days ago, and then they added another 2, so it was 10 boats. And now today they gave us as a tribute, I don't know, I can't define it exactly, but they gave us, I think out of a sign of respect, 20 boats of oil, big boats of oil, going through the Hormuz Strait. And that's taking place starting tomorrow morning. Over the next couple of days, a lot of boats. And I would only say that we're doing extremely well in that negotiation, but you never know with Iran because we negotiate with them and then we always have to blow them up, whether it's the B-2 bombers or just terminating, as an example, the Iran nuclear deal done by Barack Hussein Obama, probably the worst deal we've ever done as a country, one of the dumbest deals we've ever done.
Love how he says, well, negotiations are going good, but they're Iranian, so we always think negotiations are good, and then we have to blow them up. Like, choked a little bit of my coffee there. It's like, oh, jeez. The absolute savage. But he says things are going good, and he says that more traffic is going to be getting through the Strait of Hormuz today. So does that mean things are trending in the right direction? Maybe. I mean, at the same time, there's a lot of calls for the U.S. to put boots on the ground. A lot of discussion about that behind the scenes as well. President Trump was asked about boots on the ground yesterday on Air Force One.
Are you considering still putting boots on the ground, and would you do that without going to Congress?
I just have lots of alternatives. We have tremendous numbers of ships over there. We don't need them all because of, the power. Look, I would say we're just like we're ahead of schedule on the ballroom. In a much bigger way, we're ahead of schedule with Iran. We're weeks ahead of schedule. If you would have said that in 3 days we were going to knock out 158 ships, their entire Navy, which we did, we knocked out their entire Air Force. We knocked out most of their missiles. That's why you see missile attacks, but they're down to, they're sputtering. And we have a group, it's really a new regime. It's a new group of people that we've never dealt with before, that are acting very reasonable. It is truly regime change.
The new people are acting very reasonable. Things are ahead of schedule. No boots on the ground confirmed yet. A lot of deployment to the Middle East, though. And it's making a lot of people nervous. I mean, how do you feel? Do you feel like we're going into a boots on the ground war? Or do you feel like this is going to be over in 2 weeks, kind of along the lines of that same timeline that the president originally put out of the 4 to 6 weeks? We're in week 4 now. The second week of April would be the 6th week. So do you think that the timeline is going to look like that, or do you think it's going to stretch out quite a bit longer because we're going to have boots on the ground? 615-737-9986. The reason people think we're going to have boots on the ground is there has been a massive force buildup in the region.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. After 4 weeks of war in the Middle East, the conflict grinds on. Reports indicate the United States is preparing for a possible weeks-long ground operation in Iran that would include thousands of U.S. service members. Over the weekend, the USS Tripoli, manned with 3,500 troops, including 2,500 Marines, arrived in the CENTCOM area of operation. If an operation is ordered to seize Iranian oil facilities or enriched uranium, it's expected that both special forces and conventional forces would be used. This comes as the United States and Israel launched a series of strikes against Iranian military infrastructure over the weekend, including hitting Iran's nuclear development facilities.
In Operation Rising Lion, we hit very hard the entire chain of nuclear production in Iran. We hit everything from the production capabilities in the factories, all the components, to the centrifuges and beams, and so on. The entire production chain was hit. It was affected. It was delayed, but it was not completely destroyed.
With the Israelis looking east, they're also looking north, where early Saturday an IDF soldier from Connecticut was killed in southern Lebanon by a Hezbollah rocket. His name was Moshe Katz, and he was 22 years old.
We're paying attention to all this because it does seem like we could have boots on the ground. It also seems like this could be over in 2 weeks. Where are you at on it? What do you think? 615-737-9986. I think my line in the sand is going to be boots on the ground. Not I think. I mean, it is. We talked about this on our podcast over the weekend, myself, Mandis, and Murphy. And I don't think the American public are ready for what a boots on the ground war looks like in Iran. Now, maybe I'm not ready for what a boots on the ground war looks like in Iran. Maybe they're going to break out all the new technology that we saw in Venezuela, like the discombobulators, and it's going to be in, it's going to be out. We're going to grab that enrichment material, and then we're good. We're out. Maybe that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is watching our men and women, our soldiers overseas in 4K footage from a drone as they're blown up. Just the reality of warfare in 2026, and we've seen viral video after viral video just like that coming out of Ukraine and Russia in their conflict. Like I don't necessarily know that that's a predestined outcome, but maybe. I have a hard time believing if we put boots on the ground that we don't see that kind of footage. Maybe it's just saber rattling. Maybe this force buildup is to do just that. Scare the Iranians a little bit, though I don't know how you scare a death cult. But maybe that's the point. Maybe this is posturing for negotiations. Maybe they understand in the administration that the Iranians are watching everything, and when they see this force build up, they start to recalibrate and reconsider what they were originally thinking. Maybe not. We're at a weird point in this conflict where it seems like it could be over in 2 weeks, or this could be going on for another 2 years. 615-737-9986. John in the Borough, you're up first on Super Talk. What's up, John?
I don't have much to say, Chris. I don't know much, but I do know one thing. Whether or not boots are on the ground in Iran, Israel will be making that decision. So I don't really have a dog in the fight.
Why do you think Israel would be making the decision?
They're making all the decisions when it comes to this war.
I mean, can you give me a little bit of thought process on how you came to that decision or conclusion?
It's with all the influence and every facet of our government right now. I mean, Israel's the whole reason we're dipping our toes and everything in it anyway.
I mean, that's
really all I gotta say.
That feels rather broad with no actual information.
You're right. Have a good day, Chris.
I'm okay. Well, thanks for the call. I think it's a lot easier to blame Israel than it is to come up with reasons specifically why. John could be right. John, I'm not saying John's not right. I'm just saying you got to come to the table with more than that if you're going to blame Israel. I'm open to the conversation, by the way. 615-737-9986. But we're at a point where we're building up troops, and then on Air Force One, Donald Trump is saying, making statements like this.
Sir, could you foresee a deal in Iran this upcoming week?
I do see a deal in Iran, yeah.
Mr. President.
Could be soon.
Do you see a deal coming up with Iran this week? Yeah, I do see a deal. Could be very soon. But the words are different from the actions, and we find ourselves in a weird place. Again, is this 2 weeks, or is this another 2 years? 615-737-9986. We're getting calls in now. People are jumping. A lot of people do want to blame Israel in the war. They want to say that Israel got us into the war, and I'm not necessarily against that. I just want to see the information that led you to that conclusion. I have a hard time believing that Donald Trump is on a leash of anybody. But maybe you're right and I'm wrong. Let's have a convo, though. Let's not scream at each other. Let's go to Mike in Nashville up first. What's up, Mike? Yo, Mike.
Yeah, how you doing, Chris? Hey, listen, man. Hey, I think that Donald Trump, like I say, the war, we've been talking over a couple of weeks. The war is doing good. I don't think it's necessary to put men on the ground unless they're trying to find this uranium, which I believe is probably hidden, no telling where it is in that area in Iran. It might not even be in Iran. I think that he's making a very bad mistake. I don't know who this man is on the video. I don't know if he's one of these outcast people from Iran, but somebody's making comments by Iran saying that they're waiting on the United States, that if the United States is going to burn and fire, they're going to send people back home in body bags. I don't know who this individual is that represents Iran, but he's making some very, very dangerous comments. So I hope Donald Trump has looked into this situation, because I don't want to see some young kids, 18 to 25 or whatever, coming back home in body bags, because I don't think it's necessary.
I'm with you.
Like I said, and see, Chris, here's the thing that I'm discussing with the most, and it looks like we might be talking about this after the war is over, is that the Democrats might get back in power, Chris, because a lot of people are not happy with the fuel prices, especially if we start seeing deaths in Iran. If this war turns the opposite direction, the midterms are going to be disastrous for the Republicans, and Donald Trump will become a lame duck president for the next 2 years, and he won't be able to get anything done. And all we're going to be talking about, Chris, for the next 2 years, me and you, is Donald Trump being impeached out of the White House, instead of trying to make the United States better and get the fuel prices down and get the economy back together after this war. All we're going to be talking about is Donald Trump being impeached for the next 2 years.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mike, and I appreciate the call. Let's go to Nelson on the road. What's up, Nelson?
Hey, man. What's up, Chris?
What's up? What do you got?
Hey, I usually text a lot. I've never called in before, but, man, I think Trump is really, he's turning on a lot of his base. I voted for Trump because the wars need to end, man. I've got 3 little kids, and I look at them, and I think about their future and what the country's going to be like when I'm dead and when they're older. And, boots on the ground is going to be a 100% stab in the back. And it's just, I feel kind of betrayed, and, it's just really hard to deal with, because I felt like Trump was going to be a change, and he's just not really doing it for me now.
Well, I hear you, man, and I do worry about boots on the ground too, because we talk a lot about the treatment of our veterans at the VA hospital and the rise in veteran suicides and the poor health care that they get, and the trauma that they still have from the last forever wars that we were in. And it's like, do we want to start this cycle all over again? I don't at all. Jeff in Nashville, what's up, man? How are you?
All right, how are you?
Good. What do you got?
I think this is kind of a tactical thing. I think it's like, they're on standby to use special forces in case they have to, maybe training. I don't think it's going to really come to that.
So you think it's a little bit more saber rattling than anything else?
Yeah, I do. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thanks for the call, Jeff. Let's go to Austin on the road. What's up, Austin?
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Good, man. What do you got?
Well, I just kind of want to say that it's we have to fulfill the prophecy in order for our Savior to return. So I mean, this is kind of we had to expect this, that it's the prophecy had to be fulfilled for Christ to come the first time, and it's kind of ushering in that same thing. So Revelation,
but don't you think this is a little silly to feel like we're forcing prophecy, like we're going to force God's hand?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it's not, but it is God's plan. Whether we're forcing the hand of God or not, it is. We are. It was already prophesied that these things would come to pass before the return of Christ. So whether we stop, and think about it, I mean, we've had conflict in the Middle East for generations after generations, and so until peace is, and peace is only the prerequisite to the end in the Middle East.
So you're of the opinion that we're living through Revelation right now?
I think many generations have been, truly. It's all moving toward that. Whether it's in our lifetime or not is to be determined. But I think, yes, I think other generations have lived through the end times as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I appreciate the call, Austin. I don't think you're the only one that feels that way. I'm not against Jesus returning. I just don't know if this is that, because I don't think any man knows the time or the hour. I could be. Maybe I'm wrong. Jeff in Hendersonville, what's up?
Hey, Chris, good morning. Wow, interesting commentary from everybody. Boots on the ground, in my opinion, is, look, you've got, tens of thousands of Kurds that are battle-hardened, absolutely dedicated, and fatal to the Iranian regime. That maybe just all the troops on the Tripoli and elsewhere where they're being staged as a head feint, and maybe there's a deal already struck between the Kurdish leaders and whatever Iranian, whether it's Reza Pahlavi or whoever. So look, let's not let this plunge into like Iraq, into a civil war. Here's the succession. Here's the Kurds part in this. People get free elections. I don't know. I think that's always an option that's very real, because the Kurds are, they got an axe to grind, and they are absolutely determined, and hey, how many billions did we give to, or rather, how many billions did the Biden cabal give to Ukraine?
Well, they did say in the beginning of the conflict that the Kurds were willing to go in, and that it was the U.S. that said pump the brakes on that. But there was a lot of reports that a ground invasion was imminent from the Kurds. What was it, like week 2? I think it was. Maybe it was even the first week. I can't recall. Leslie in Nashville, what's up? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine, and I appreciate you taking my call. I do agree with your previous caller. I think it was 2 callers ago. I do believe we're living in the last times. And at this moment, this is where when the last soul gets saved, that's when Christ does come back. But, I mean, whether we're at that very last second or not, we have to, as a people, you got to stop and look at the big picture. The can's been kicked for 47 years. They're doing nothing but getting stronger underground. They're slowly getting where they want to be. If we don't stop them now, then you allow them. We have allowed nothing against the nuclear weapons. You got India. You have Russia. We have enough problems with the nuclear weapons out there already. We don't need somebody. Can you imagine a world if Adolf Hitler had nuclear weapons? So if you lose 5,000, and I'm just throwing this number out there, if you lose 5,000 soldiers, is that a small price to pay to stop a nuisance of world dominance with nuclear weapons, where every time they get pissed off at the Americans, which is almost 24 hours a day, they just, hey, we're going to nuke y'all. Hey, we're going to nuke y'all.
But don't you think if we were to go in for a ground invasion, even if we're going after the enrichment, that would last for years because there's millions of these Iranians and the drones are so easily made and launched that I mean, guerrilla warfare in a mountainous terrain of a country like Iran, that sounds like it will just go on forever. It's going to make Afghanistan and Iraq seem like a cakewalk if we were to go that route.
Well, I'm not going to say it's going to be an easy task, but this is over this past weekend. Me and my wife literally have had this conversation. I've got 7 kids. My 24-year-old, he would be in the draft mode right here.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 14-year-old boy coming up. I am evaluating it, but at the same token, I've looked at what Trump did the first 4 years. Now, if Biden was in president, I'll be honest with you, yes, I would be losing my mind. But Trump has proved himself as a smart person, a smart maneuvering. He has played chess. I mean, you got to look at every step he's done so far. He's not a Joe Biden, and he's not Obama. He's not Clinton. I put him right there with George Washington and Ronald Reagan. I don't believe. Does he tell us everything that is going on? Well, no, but he does have some aces in his back pocket, I do believe.
I'm with you there, Leslie, and I'm gonna keep trusting him until it gets to a point where it's unbearable to do so. I think boots on the ground is the line in the sand for me, because how do we get out of this? This is the big question. Like, how do we get out? If we go boots on the ground invasion, I don't see how negotiations are going to go smoothly. So it seems like negotiations at that point will be ceasing to exist. Maybe I'm wrong. 927 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris And here for my friends at USS, United Structural Systems. When your foundation is compromised, nothing else feels right. That's something every homeowner knows, and your foundation has been going through it. A couple weeks ago, we had the crazy winter storms that brought heavy moisture and ice to the area. Your soil was going through that freeze-thaw cycle. Your foundation might have taken a hit. Maybe when everything melted, you started noticing some water getting into your crawl space or into your basement. And it dried up, and you were like, okay, I think we're good. Well, we're heading into rain season, and if you're getting water in your inside your crawl space or inside your basement, it's not going to fix itself. You want to call an expert, not a sales guy. Call somebody who's going to come up to your home with a plan to fix it. No matter how big or how small the problem is, not somebody who's coming up worried about their quota. You don't need that. You need the guys that have been doing this since 1994. This is why so many homeowners trust USS. They've helped thousands of Tennessee families repair and protect their foundations after storms, stop the water from getting in. Their focus is on doing the job right the first time so that way you can feel confident in your home again. If you're worried about the water before we get into the rain, call USS today, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, or find them online, ussTN.com.
Good morning, now 9:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The war in Iran has passed the 1-month mark, and now the first U.S. ground troops have arrived in the Middle East.
What we have seen in the past is when the president moves military assets into a region, which you always hear from this administration is, we're still negotiating, we're moving troops in, we like to do gunboat diplomacy, but peace is still a possibility. That's happened in Venezuela. We took out Nicolas Maduro. That happened before the Iran war started. Now we're a month into this war. Generally speaking, when you see the military move lots of troops and assets, they usually end up being used in one way or another.
That's ABC's Matt Rivers reporting from Qatar. A man in Putnam County who had been headed out for a hike made a gruesome discovery on Sunday.
The sheriff's office says that hiker found a partially decomposed body in a wooded area near Monterey. Sheriff Eddie Ferris says investigators are now on the scene working to figure out who this person is and what happened to him. Right now, they are going through missing persons cases, not just locally, but all across the state, hoping that something there lines up.
That's Channel 4's Hunter Hoagland. A father is facing charges for a shooting on Saturday in Bellshire that left his 6-year-old son in extremely critical condition. Metro Nashville police say 56-year-old Stephen Phillips fell asleep with a pistol in his pocket after playing with the boy in the living room. The boy apparently took the gun from his pocket and accidentally shot himself in the head. Phillips is charged with aggravated child neglect and unlawful possession of a gun by a convicted felon. That is the latest news. Your weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friend Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. When's the last time that you actually sat down and looked at your insurance bill? Does it feel like a math test? Confusing percentages, fine print that bites you when you're not looking. Let's make it simple with Cover Nash. They have a brand new nationwide PPO plan that'll give you the freedom to pick your own doctors anywhere in the U.S. with no referrals and no red tape. How does a $250 deductible sound? How about a flat $50 copay for any doctor, even specialist? You need an outpatient surgery, $250 copay. Hospital stays, just $1,000 totals. Plus, free preventative care and more because it is ACA compliant. And here's the kicker: no surprise bills, no hidden fees, just real protection from real providers. And if that's not the perfect fit, Cover Nash works with 75 top-rated insurance companies. They'll find something that works for your budget or your needs. Whether you're self-employed, whether you're running a small business, whether you're just tired of overpaying for your insurance, talk to Shane Ring and Cover Nash today. 615-465-0023, 615-465-0023, or find them online, covernash.com. 39 minutes past the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. You can watch the show. Super Talk TV is up and running. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble are the big ones. Hit subscribe. Free to do, and it helps the radio station out big time. You can listen on the apps as well or on the FM dial, whatever you prefer. But we do have video for all the audio you hear on the radio when you watch us on the live stream. And then if you want to watch it later, you can always go back and skip the commercials and do all that. We actually do a lot of content in between the commercials as well. We haven't done it yet, but I do have some No Kings footage that we're going to be playing during the commercials a little bit later on in the show. Did you see one guy? He tried to... You ever see the No Kings protesters trying to stop the cars or any of the protesters trying to stop the cars with their arms? And you're like, well, that's dumb. You know, you're not going to stop a car.
Yeah, they're trying, but unsuccessfully.
Even dumber was over the weekend. A No Kings protester tried to stop a police horse with his arms.
That didn't turn out very well.
Nope. So we'll have that
Cringy.
video. We'll have the video later on the show. Let's just spoiler alert. He ended up in, I believe, a puddle of his own pee, crying on the ground as he was being kicked by the horse.
Understandable.
The horse showed a lot of restraint, a lot more restraint than I would have. In the meantime, we're talking about the conflict in the Middle East. Donald Trump is signaling two things at once, that it could be over very, very soon. I mean, just over the weekend on Air Force One, he said this.
Sir, could you foresee a deal in Iran this upcoming week?
I do see a deal in Iran, yeah.
Mr. President.
Could be soon.
I do see a deal. Could be soon. At the same time, we have a massive troop buildup in the Middle East. And we're getting your thoughts on boots on the ground. 615-737-9986. Let's go to Ronnie in the borough. What's up, Ron? How you doing, man?
Good, Chris. Appreciate the show, man.
Thanks, man. What are your thoughts on everything?
Chris, I think that we're really missing the big picture here, and I appreciate the point of view from all your callers, and I certainly understand the worry and everything. I was in the Marine Corps, but I think that we're missing the big picture. I don't think this is about us getting dog walked by Israel, and I don't even think it's about Iran for the most part. I think that Trump is methodically cutting off China at the hip.
You're not the only one with this thought, Ronnie. And I mean, if you look at all the moves that he's been making, starting with Venezuela, now with the oil in Iran, I mean, you can absolutely make the case that this has a lot less to do with Iran and has a lot more to do with the other superpower that we're going to be dealing with for the next 100 years.
Yeah, I mean, if you really, truly listen to Trump, he'll tell you exactly what he's thinking. He has mentioned the oil in Iran many, many times. He, like you just mentioned, he went to Venezuela, cut China off there. He's going to Iran. He's cutting China off there. The very first thing that he mentioned in his campaign, we're going after Greenland. We're going after the Panama Canal. Everything that he's been doing, he's methodically been trying to take back power that China has steadily been gaining over the last probably 20, 30 years. So I really believe that that's what it's all about. I could be wrong. And again, I respect the people's fear about us getting into a forever war. I don't want that. I've got two young boys, and I don't want that at all. But I am willing to give this president a little leeway. I think that he's smarter than people give him credit for. I believe that he has a plan, and I believe that he's executing his plan. So that's just my opinion.
So no, and you're not the only one with that thought, and it's a good thought. It's one that I've definitely dove into myself. But my question would be, given if everything you said was 100% true, that all of this is strategically moves to weaken China and strengthen the United States.
Yeah.
If all of that is true, do you support boots on the ground in Iran to secure that oil?
Well, how else are we going to do it, Chris? I don't know how else that you can do it.
Do you think the American public can stomach that?
I think the term "boots on the ground" has been a phrase of fear for a long time. Again, I served in the Marine Corps. When I joined the Marine Corps, I knew what the possibilities were. Now, to all the parents out there of Marines, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. But to the young Marines, they know what their job is. They know what they signed up for, and if it benefits the ultimate goal of pulling back power from China, because who in this listening audience wants China to rule the world? I certainly don't.
No, I'm with you.
I don't think that would be a good thing. Sure wouldn't be a good thing for my boys, and it wouldn't be a good thing for my grandchildren. America has a lot of problems, but when America's the number one man in charge, I think that the world's in pretty good footing.
Hey, I appreciate the call, Ronnie.
So
Thanks, man.
That doesn't answer your question, but
it kind of does in a roundabout way. I'm picking up what you're putting down, man.
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, I appreciate you. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Sharon in the borough. What's up, Sharon?
Hey, good morning, Chris. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't have the intel that Trump has, obviously, but I am definitely not for boots on the ground. I mean, if it's, he knows if it's really absolutely necessary. I hope it's not, because I just could see it being a disaster. But I do see that a lot of this that's going on, and yes, speaking to a couple of people that called before about the end times, I believe this is all like Revelation playing out myself. Do you know about the 10 horns, Daniel 7, 10 horn kingdoms or 10 horns? There's actually a 10 kingdoms project that the Club of Rome came up with. They're a bunch of globalists many years ago. And the map shows the United States with Canada and Greenland and Cuba as one kingdom.
Interesting.
Part of the 10 horn, yes. So, that's what the Daniel 7 talks about, is the 10 kingdoms, or it's talking about 10 horns. But that's on their map that these globalists, the Club of Rome, came up with. Their map shows that they did back in the 70s, early 70s. It shows North America, Canada, Cuba, Greenland, all those are one kingdom. So I find this very interesting. I'm not saying Trump is, trying to do it on purpose. I just think it's interesting that a lot of these things are lining up under Trump.
Yeah. It's fascinating for sure. I mean, I'm no theologian, I'm not that guy. So I try to stay away from those discussions because I end up putting my foot in my mouth. But hey, I'm open to listening, and I appreciate the call. Let's go to Jason in the borough. What's up, Jason?
Hey, how you doing, Chris? My thoughts on it are that there was no reason we should have ever went into Iran. I've served my country and my community for 24 years, and I was in the Army pre 9/11, and I, been to Iraq.
Thanks for your service, man.
Useless and no problem. It was useless and senseless, and it's not that I like the Iranians by any means, because I lost friends to Iranian IEDs and stuff like that. So I know, that they're bad people, but strategically, this has done nothing but harm the United States. People are talking about, he's positioning to, cut China off and those things. But, in the end, it's hurting us. And I've got children.
So
that
do you think? Do you think that this is short-term pain, or do you think this is going to hurt us long-term? And by hurt, do you are you referencing the gas prices and energy costs in particular currently?
I'm referencing the entire economy and the chance of losing the petrodollar, being kicked out of the Middle East permanently. There's large strategic, global effects that are going to hurt us. Yes, we don't get much oil through the Strait of Hormuz, but
well, how do you think we would be kicked out of the Middle East permanently?
Well, we could lose face seriously. Most buildups for wars and stuff like that. If you look at the Gulf War, there was a massive 9-month buildup before we invaded Kuwait and pushed the Iraqis out. During the second Gulf War, during Iraq, I was actually deployed to Korea and set on the DMZ the night of the invasion to keep the North Koreans from thinking that they could do something and move south. So there was a lot of pre-planning. This all is just hodgepodge, slapped together. And then when the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, says the only reason we did this was because we knew we'd be retaliated on because the Israelis were going to go no matter what. And so we decided that we needed to jump on board and hit Iran before Iran hit us and retaliate.
So here's a question that I would ask for you, because you said this was kind of slapped together a bit haphazardly. Is that personal opinion, or do you have guys on the inside that have been giving you that intel? How do you come to the conclusion that this has all been slapped together, given the fact that we're not in the private rooms and the planning?
Well, no, I don't have any secret squirrel information, but just watching it from the outside, the fact that there wasn't a troop buildup beforehand, so they start bombing, they don't have strategic assets in place. They start moving Marine Expeditionary Forces, the 82nd Airborne, weeks after all this starts going down. And it's one of those things, I honestly believe Trump was told that, if we decapitate the Iranian regime, Iran will collapse. Iran's a country of 90 million, a third of the size of the United States. We're not fighting insurgents in Iraq or, in Afghanistan. We're fighting a stand-up military that's got long-range precision ballistic missiles. We're already seeing that. We're already losing high-dollar assets, and we don't even have hardly anyone in the region.
But don't you
imagine if we put boots on the ground?
But if we didn't have it, I'm playing devil's advocate here. We don't have anyone in the region, yet we eliminated their Air Force, we eliminated their Navy, we took out a lot of their missile capability, we sent the nuclear capabilities back decades. So that wasn't part of the plan.
Well, yeah, but it's a war of numbers. We've been slowly depleting our arsenal, sending it over to Ukraine for the last 4 years. The THAAD missile system, the Patriot missile systems, all these weapon systems that are designed to intercept ballistic missiles and drones. And you've got a $30,000 drone that Iran can send flying, and we have to use a $2 million missile to destroy it. And now they're talking about pulling these missiles out of Indochina, or the Pacific area. Removing them from South Korea, removing them from the Philippines and places like that to push them over in Iran and put them in Israel and put them in the Middle East. It just shows a lack of planning on our part, when it was we have to get this done. We have to get it done fast. Now that it's dragging on, we're we've had to keep our aircraft carriers farther out because they're susceptible to missile attack. So they can't fly sorties in, so all we have are the Tomahawk missiles and standoff munitions, and we're rapidly running out of those.
So how do you see this conflict ending?
Well, in my opinion, if the Israelis didn't keep blowing up every off-ramp Trump tries to take,
so
he's like, hey, I'm going to put a moratorium on hitting infrastructure, and then immediately the Israelis start bombing infrastructure.
So you're of the opinion that Israel's dictating everything on this.
I believe Israel's got different strategic goals than what the United States does, and I believe those goals are conflicting. And when you've got two partners in a coalition you got to have agreement, and I don't believe it's there. But I've said my piece. I've actually got to go. I got to get into work.
Hey, Jason, man, listen, I appreciate the call, and I do appreciate nuanced conversation in this, and I like different opinions. So you're welcome to join the show, 615-737-9986. It's 9:55. This is Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friend Aaron Parker over at Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville. And if you're storing firearms, cash, gold, jewelry, passports, maybe even just the photo albums at home, here's something that a lot of people don't realize. Not all safes are created equal. Before you run out to a big box store because you saw something on sale, call the experts at Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville. They carry trusted brands like Rhino Metals and Liberties, but also true high-security safes from manufacturers like Graf Under, American Security, ISM, and Incas. Now, even better than that, if you see something on sale at the big box store, go to the Parker Safes YouTube page, search Parker Safes on YouTube, and you'll find a detailed review of every safe they have in stock. Now, you'll either find a review of the one that you've been looking at, or you won't. And if you don't, spoiler alert, it's not a good safe. There are kinds of safes that are built to offer real protection from theft and fire, and there are some that are built just for marketing. Aaron Parker at Parker Safes and Vaults knows the difference. Based in Shelbyville, they serve all of Nashville, all of Tennessee, and the surrounding states. Call Aaron today, 931-842-6445, or find him online at parkersafes.com. That's parkersafes.com.
Good morning. It's now 10 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories and happening on the Senate floor moments ago.
Under the previous order, the Senate stands adjourned until 7 a.m. on Thursday, April 2nd, 2026.
That is Republican Senator from North Dakota, John Hoeven, gaveling out of a pro forma session within 30 seconds of gaveling in. That's a snub to the House's version of a DHS funding bill, says Chad Pergram at Fox News.
What they did is, we thought that there was a chance that they might ask to pass the House-approved bill. This is the bill that the House approved late Friday night around 11:30 that would fund all of DHS for 2 months. And so John Hoeven came in. Once they started, as you see, it's just about a 25 to 30-second process and gavelled out.
Yeah, he says one Democrat was in attendance during that session to make sure that any bill being raised wouldn't get any consideration. TSA officers are getting their back pay today, thanks to a memo signed by President Trump that redirects funds, and it came after lawmakers failed to reach a deal. Will that be enough, though, to get TSA workers to return to their jobs?
It's not enough at all. We're only going to be back paid for the paychecks that we've missed. Moving forward, we don't know if we're going to get paid in another 2 weeks.
In fact, the president of the TSA Workers Union says TSA workers need a $10,000 bonus. Governor Bill Lee may consider a bill today that was passed by House Republicans on Thursday. It makes it a crime for public officials to release confidential immigration enforcement information. It comes after Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell was tied to the release of ICE officers' names during ICE arrest in Nashville last May. It's an incident the Tennessean calls inadvertent. The bill says public officials who do so will be removed from office. Tonight at 5 o'clock, a public emergency meeting at Rutherford County Courthouse as the library board considers firing library director Luann James. She has refused to move nearly 200 children's books containing sexual LGBTQ themes to the adult section as directed by the board. The board says her actions amount to insubordination and she may be fired. And does Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have a ketamine problem? She apparently dropped $19,000 in campaign cash on a psychiatrist who specializes in ketamine therapy named Brian Boyle. A ketamine addiction would be just the start of her troubles, though.
The National Legal and Policy Center filed a joint complaint with the FBC and the Office of Congressional Conduct, demanding that authorities determine whether the money paid to Dr. Brian Boyle was fraudulently documented as leadership training and consulting.
That's Lisa Booth on Fox News. The New York Post investigation says that money was spent for personal psychiatric therapy for AOC or for her campaign staff. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 6 minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Depending on who you listen to, the Iran war is either almost coming to a close and negotiations are going extremely well, or we're about to launch a ground invasion. Maybe this is just by design from the Trump administration to keep the options open and the unpredictability there. Maybe it's because nobody really knows what the hell's going on. I don't know. I don't know what's true. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the conversation. Marco Rubio sat down with George Slopadopoulos this morning on Good Morning America. And Rubio answered all the questions that he could with our friends over at ABC. I say friends with a little bit of air quotes. I know how much everybody loves ABC News. You know, The View is considered ABC News.
Ugh.
It's under their news umbrella. It's not under their entertainment umbrella.
Interesting.
So, that's kind of like the grain of salt I take everything coming from ABC News with.
Only a grain?
A pound. You guys consider The View news? So, Secretary Marco Rubio sat down with Slopadopoulos. And he was making the case for why we're dealing with Iran now. And one of his points was, imagine what this looks like in 2 years if we didn't do anything.
Well, first of all, it's important to remember the objectives of this operation from the very beginning. We are destroying Iran's Navy. We are destroying their ability to their missile launchers by a significant percentage. We're going to wipe out their defense industrial base, meaning their ability to make new missiles and new drones in the future, because it poses a great threat to the region. This Iran that you're seeing now, this is Iran at its weakest point. Imagine them 2 years from now if they had thousands of more missiles, thousands of more missile launchers and factories to make even more. That was an unacceptable risk. It needed to be addressed, and President Trump is addressing it.
That's Marco Rubio. Again, he's on with George Slopadopoulos from Good Morning America. He says, guys, if you think Iran's bad now, they're weaker than they've ever been. And imagine what would have happened if we just looked the other way for another 2 years. The problem wouldn't have gotten better. The problem would have gotten worse. At least that's the case Marco Rubio is making. A lot of Americans will say, well, the problem is actually getting worse for me today. My gas prices are insane. I don't want to be paying $6 a gallon over the summer. I understand you. I feel you. And I think that a lot of the American public started to get some heartburn as soon as they started feeling that pain at the pump. But that comes because of the Strait of Hormuz is being shut down. Not all of the world's oil comes through there, and basically we get nothing through there. But oil is traded on a global market, and so this affects everyone's prices. Iran has said they'll reopen the Strait of Hormuz, but if they can get a toll out of people going through, Marco Rubio says, no. Iran is not collecting a toll from the boats going through the Strait of Hormuz, and that's never going to be part of the equation.
Now, they are making threats about controlling the Hormuz Straits in perpetuity, creating a tolling system and the like. That's not going to be allowed to happen. And the president has a number of options available to him if he so chooses to prevent that from happening. Obviously, I'm not going to discuss what those options are, and we're not going to discuss military tactics. The Department of War would be in charge of those things. I'd refer you to them, but obviously they're not going to discuss it with you either. But there is a way forward here to achieve our objectives. We are going to achieve our objectives in a matter of weeks, not months.
Again, that timeline being laid out again, a matter of weeks. The administration keeps signaling that original 4 to 6 week timeline. I'm hoping that that's the case, and I'm going to trust them that that's the case. But a lot of Americans are upset anyway. They say that Iran was not an imminent threat. Well, an imminent threat to who, I think would be the question. Were they an imminent threat to our soldiers? Yes, they were a constant threat to our soldiers overseas. When you look at the missile launch at Diego Garcia, that was 4,000 kilometers away, which was double the range of what they said publicly they had on their missiles, which put a lot of countries in the crosshairs. London, Paris, Germany. I mean, a lot of different European cities and countries could have been hit by Iranian missiles. So, yeah, it's an imminent threat for them. And then when you look at what happened with Venezuela, we know that Iran was on the ground in Venezuela, and that is less than 4,000 kilometers away from the United States. So you could make the case that Iran was an imminent threat, not just to our soldiers, but to our allies and to the continental United States. And maybe that was part of the equation in the back rooms. We weren't privy to the intelligence that the president was privy to. Maybe he got all of this briefed weeks ago, and we're just finding out now. But what Marco Rubio said is when you look at the Iranian regime and then look at the terrorist groups in this region, they get a link to every single one of them. How do you say that this regime wasn't evil, is the case Marco Rubio is making?
Well, I think the first point the president makes is he prefers diplomacy. As I said, those efforts are nascent. There is messages being relayed back and forth, some conversations going on, including through intermediaries, and he always prefers that. Look, if the Iranian regime had come forward at any point in the past and said, we're going to walk away from our nuclear ambitions, we're going to do nuclear energy the way every other country in the world, primarily, almost every other country in the world does it, and that is through a peaceful means in which you bring in the fuel and it's supervised and so forth. We're going to stop supporting terrorist groups across the region. Look at this region. Every single terrorist group in this region has a link to the Iranian regime. Every single one. The Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Shia militias that are attacking everyone out of Iraq. Every single one of these groups and all the destabilization in this region tracks directly back to the Iranian regime. Those things have to be addressed. And if Iran had been willing to address those in the past, we wouldn't be having this interview on this topic right now. Their refusal to do so and their continuing move towards one day acquiring a nuclear capability, these people are lunatics. They are insane. They are religious zealots who can never be allowed to possess a nuclear weapon because they have an apocalyptic vision of the future. And all of their neighbors know that, by the way, which is why all of their neighbors have been supportive of the efforts we're conducting.
I mean, Marco Rubio's not mincing words there. Religious zealots with an apocalyptic worldview. Is he wrong? 615-737-9986. Back to the Strait of Hormuz. Rubio says, hey, where are the allies at?
The Iranians are threatening that they're going to set up some permanent system in the Straits of Hormuz where they get to decide who goes through international waterways. That will never be allowed to happen. By the way, the rest of the world should take note of that. They have more at stake there than we do. We get very little of our energy in this country coming through the Straits of Hormuz. The rest of the world gets a lot more.
He's absolutely right. And the rest of the world should be stepping up. Scott Bessent was also talking about the Strait of Hormuz and says that there's a possibility that the U.S. takes over control of the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know how that looks in practice, but Scott Bessent explains what that would mean in theory.
Cut deals with the Iranian regime for the time being, but over time, the U.S. is going to retake control of the straits, and there will be freedom of navigation, whether it is through U.S. escorts or a multinational escort.
So are you concerned at all about the Houthis getting involved? They shelled Israel with two rockets. Are you worried about the Red Sea?
Not as much. The Houthis have been very quiet so far.
If you're watching on Super Talk TV, you get the video of that. And when Kilmeade asked Bessent about the Houthis, I think his facial expression said everything before he even answered the question. He's just like, am I worried about the Houthis? Who? No, we're not worried about the Houthis. Okay, that was Scott Bessent talking about the Strait of Hormuz. Marco Rubio continues to battle with George Slopadopoulos. One of the things that everybody says, there's no clear objectives. How do we know when this is over? Marco Rubio said, here, grab a pen, and we can write down the objectives together so you don't forget them.
This operation, okay, and that's what this is, it's about very specific objectives. The president laid them out on the first night of the operation. I'll repeat them to you now because I hear a lot of talk about we don't know what the clear objectives are. Here they are. You should write them down. Number one, the destruction of their Air Force. Number two, the destruction of their Navy. Number three, the severe diminishing of their missile launching capability. And number four, the destruction of their factories so they can't make more missiles and more drones to threaten us in the future. All of this so that they can never hide behind it to acquire a nuclear weapon. That was our objective from the beginning. That remains our objective now. We are on pace and, in fact, ahead of schedule in some of those things, and we are going to achieve those things in a number of weeks, not in a number of months.
There's the weeks again, 615-737-9986. Let's go to our friend Richard in Tennessee. What's up, Richard? How we doing, man? Richard, you there, man?
Yes, sir.
All right, what do you got? Your thoughts?
Here it is, brother. It's simple. Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 34 through 39 explains to the entire world what's going on with Iran. At the time that this book was written on the history of Persia, there was a province, and still is a province of Iran today, that in those days was known as Elam, E-L-A-M. And biblical prophecy foretells that in the last days they're going to be took out because they are the ultimate enemy. all 7 countries, every one of them over there that are enemies of Israel and America, they're enemies of America too. They hate our freedom. Every one of those countries have the same color flag.
Yeah, I've heard this. I've heard this before. But when you're talking about the countries, which countries do you mean? Can you list them? Because I mean, currently we have Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar. I mean, we have all these countries on our side.
Jordan, Syria, Egypt, all of them that have that same flag color. That flag color is a representation of the Antichrist in his glory when he's the apocalypse of the 4 horsemen. Those 4 horsemen colors represent the flag colors of those countries that are imminent enemies and wish death to Israel.
Well, I appreciate the call, Rich. I mean, I've seen that on the gram at Chris Hand on air if you want to follow me. But I don't know enough to talk about the end times, to be honest with you. Dwayne in Hohenwald, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Dwayne?
What's going on, buddy?
Not much, man. What are you thinking?
People that think I was in the military 50-something years ago, and they think there ain't no boots on the ground. That's stupid. There's always boots on the ground when we up to something. And I was sitting in Cambodia 50-something years ago, and we had one of them little transistor radios.
Yeah.
And we turned it on, and the news, we had a radio station over there. And the news came on and said there ain't no American soldiers in Cambodia, and we're sitting in Cambodia.
So you're like, Bud, they're already there. What are we doing?
They're already over in Iran. They're looking for that stuff for them guys to blow up.
I wouldn't shock me at all, man. Not one bit. Let's go to Shane in Macomb. What's up, Shane?
Hey, how are you?
Good. What do you got?
Hey, over the weekend, with the passing of...
You there? Did we lose him? All right. I'm going to put Shane on hold, and we'll see if we can get him back on the line.
Yeah, I'll double check.
I don't know what his point was going to be. People will probably be, you cut him off because he was going to tell you the truth about Israel. Oh, all right, maybe. Aubrey in the borough, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Aubrey?
Hey, Chris. My opinion is, because we all have one, President Trump has so much more information than any of us will ever consider having. He's making decisions from that information, and as somebody who has voted for him 3 times, I trust his judgment.
Yeah.
He is not a paid politician. He's doing this from his heart for America, and he doesn't want anyone killed, not our men, not anybody else's people. He's trying to protect us, and we have to have faith that God is leading him, and that's just my bottom line.
Well, I appreciate the call, Aubrey, and thank you for doing that. I mean, listen, as far as Trump having more information, I do believe that could be the case. And maybe the Venezuela operation was step 1 before we went to Iran, because we knew that the Iranians were in Venezuela. We talked about the Diego Garcia missiles, the double the length that these missiles could reach, and how that would put us in striking distance from Venezuela. I'm not here to say that that's the case or not. But I could see how some are theorizing that on the internet. Let's go back to Shane in Macomb. What's up, Shane?
Hey, sorry about that. I'm driving, got to a dead spot.
No, you're good. You're good. I wanted to hear what you had to say.
Okay, yeah. With my childhood hero passing recently, Chuck Norris, I got rewatching some of his old movies. Delta Force, which I remember seeing at the theaters back in the day, and it just brought home to me how long we've been dealing with these Iranian devils. At the beginning of the movie, they actually referenced the botched hostage rescue during Carter, and they were saying, we don't want another one of those. And the whole premise of the movie is the Iranians take a plane hostage, and take away the Jews that were on the plane and the Americans and bring them into Iran and kidnap them. And that was 1985, and it just hit me how long we've been dealing with these people.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where the one terrorist is talking to some of the guys that kidnapped, and he says he dreams of one day of driving a truck right up to the gates of the White House and blowing it up. And one of the hostages say, well, it's pretty well protected. It's going to take more than one guy. And he turns and looks at him and says, you think we don't have friends there already?
Yep.
And it just, man, how prophetic that movie is.
Yeah, I hear you, Shane, and I appreciate the call, man. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the conversation. We have been dealing with them for a long time. They are religious fanatics. I mean, it's hard for me to say that the Iranians are good people. I mean, how can you say that? You look at the devastation that they've caused. But I think there is room for a nuanced conversation on if we should be there. How much should we be there? Are boots on the ground a good thing? I don't think the nuanced conversation is whether Iran is good or bad. I think everybody is pretty much in the same line of thought there. Marco Rubio was talking about the leadership in Iran a little while ago on Good Morning America.
Well, I think the first point the president makes is he prefers diplomacy. As I said, those efforts are nascent. There is messages being relayed back and forth, some conversations going on, including through intermediaries, and he always prefers that. Look, if the Iranian regime had come forward at any point in the past and said, we're going to walk away from our nuclear ambitions, we're going to do nuclear energy the way every other country in the world, primarily, almost every other country in the world does it, and that is through a peaceful means in which you bring in the fuel and it's supervised and so forth. We're going to stop supporting terrorist groups across the region. Look at this region. Every single terrorist group in this region has a link to the Iranian regime. Every single one. The Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Shia militias that are attacking everyone out of Iraq. Every single one of these groups and all the destabilization in this region tracks directly back to the Iranian regime. Those things have to be addressed. And if Iran had been willing to address those in the past, we wouldn't be having this interview on this topic right now. Their refusal to do so and their continuing move towards one day acquiring a nuclear capability, these people are lunatics. They are insane. They are religious zealots who can never be allowed to possess a nuclear weapon because they have an apocalyptic vision of the future. And all of their neighbors know that, by the way, which is why all of their neighbors have been supportive of the efforts we're conducting.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Are you dealing with pain? Any kind of pain, back pain, neck pain, sciatica, herniated or bulging disc, knee pain. Maybe you just got some numbness in your arms or legs. Well, you need to know about my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Right now, today, Dr. Mitchell is offering you 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression. That's a great deal, and it could get you back to a pain-free life. They're also the first and only office in Tennessee with a brand new device called the HydroWave. This HydroWave is going to stimulate stem cells for real cellular healing. No surgery, no needles, no injections, only non-surgical intervention here at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. They're going to up their game for you. Robotic lasers, cryotherapy, the works. It starts with a phone call to get back to a pain-free life. 615-246-5009. 615-246-5009. Grab your MRI. They'll explain what's going on. They'll give you a plan to fix it. Painisbad.com. That's painisbad.com.
Hey, this is Pastor Al, and join us on Super Talk 99.7, Sunday evenings from 7 to 8. We're going to look at the news from a biblical perspective.
A parent's worst nightmare had happened to Clarksville families, and paychecks are hitting bank accounts of TSA agents. That and more coming up here at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The fact that checks are going to TSA agents is welcome news.
Absolutely.
But we didn't get the results from Senate Republicans. We certainly didn't get the results from Senate Democrats. The shutdown is still in effect. The only reason they're getting paid today is because of, you guessed it, President Trump. That's it. That's the only reason this is happening. The Senate Republicans, they tried to pass something in the dead of night on, was it Friday night?
Into Friday morning.
Into Friday morning. And then Mike Johnson essentially said, hell no, that's not going to work. So the TSA agents had to get paid by other means, essentially an executive order from the President of the United States.
Are looking a lot better here this weekend. Lines are moving. People aren't waiting for too long. But that comes after a rough week of lines that at some points were stretching all throughout the entire terminal. And even though TSA workers are set to get paid as soon as tomorrow, thanks to the president's executive order, one officer we spoke to says he's not sure how much it will help.
No, I mean, listen. You've been shut down for, 50% of the fiscal year? A paycheck is nice, but I don't necessarily know that that's going to help you recover from the hole the federal government has put you in. It's definitely a step in the right direction, but we need the Senate to get their ass in gear and get this government opened. Maybe we can do that by nuking the filibuster. You know, when was the first time that I said that they should nuke the filibuster? That was like, 2 months ago, 3 months ago? Imagine how much we could have gotten done if we nuked the filibuster at the first sign of resistance from the Democrats. Imagine where we could be today. Midterms are coming here. They're going to be here sooner than we know. And if we had nuked the filibuster, we'd be that much further down the field. It does seem like a renewed push to nuke the filibuster is on the agenda, and I'm here for it. We'll talk about it when we get back. It's 10:30. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Students and staff at Kenwood Middle School greeted by counselors today. It's the first day back to class after a devastating bus crash on Friday. This parent speaking to Channel 4 about kids on school bus trips.
You send your kid on these field trips and you just assume that they're going to be okay. And this is literally every parent's worst nightmare.
Yeah, the school bus collided with a dump truck and an SUV on Friday while transporting students and staff on that field trip. THP still investigating. They say the cause is unclear. The two students killed were Zoe Davis and Ariana Pearson. As promised, TSA agents are starting to get paid. Here's Bill Malushin on Fox News this morning.
We can confirm that at least some TSA agents have started getting paid as of this morning. Our team down at Atlanta Airport just talked to a handful of those agents there. They confirmed they did get a paycheck today, though one agent did say his was about 30 hours short of what he had worked. But looking at the bigger picture here, as these airports start trying to get back on track, Border Czar Tom Homan says ICE agents will be staying at those airports until things are running smoothly again.
TSA employees have been required to work the 42 days of the shutdown. It began on February 14th. Fighter jets scrambled over Palm Beach yesterday for a civilian plane that breached the airspace restrictions near President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. Those restrictions are put in place while the president is at the estate. They're lifted when he travels. During yesterday's incident, fighter jets deployed flares to get the attention of the pilot, and that aircraft was then escorted out of the restricted area. That's the latest news. We've got your weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
36 minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to the show anywhere, iHeartRadio, tune in, the FM dial. You can watch the show as well. You'll get video for all the audio that you hear on the apps and on your radio on YouTube and Rumble. Hit the subscribe button. Help us grow the digital footprint of the radio station. We appreciate you doing so. We're doing pretty good on subscribers. We could do better. So hit subscribe. We appreciate you. YouTube chat's been popping off this morning. You see that? I don't really know what they're talking about. They're all over the place.
Just a little scattered.
A little unhinged, but that's why we like them. That's why they're our fave. All hail the YouTube chat. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the conversation. We're moving away from Iran. There's a bunch to talk about. And we could spend all 3 hours on Iran, let's be perfectly honest. I just saw a report from Breitbart. As I say, let's move off of Iran. I saw a report from Breitbart says, Israel will decline to join any ground operations Americans might launch in Iran. Oh, perfect. This is good. That's good. All right. Well, we'll get back to that momentarily. In the meantime, I do want to talk about the government shutdown, which is still going on. The Republicans in the dead of night, Senate Republicans, agreed to something, essentially bent the knee to Chuck Schumer, the Democrats, and agreed on a funding bill that wouldn't give money to border security or ICE. And the Republicans were like, what are we doing? Now, John Thune had said that they would get that stuff passed through reconciliation, but Mike Johnson got that bill sent to the House, and he was just like, no, it's a hard no. Hell no. In fact, Rep. Byron Donalds was on Fox News over the weekend talking about this. And just an aside, before we play the clip from Byron Donalds, we're actually going to have Byron Donalds' wife on the show tomorrow, Erica Donalds, and we're going to have a conversation about school choice at about 11 o'clock tomorrow. I might get a chance to ask her about the governor race in Florida. But this is Byron Donalds talking about the shutdown and what Speaker Johnson did when he received that from Senate Republicans.
Well, we got to clarify a couple things. Speaker Johnson's done his job in exemplary fashion, and I'm not just saying that to back him up. I'm telling you because it's true. It's factual. Where this thing has all fallen apart is in the United States Senate. The House of Representatives has consistently funded all of Homeland Security, and the Speaker made the absolute right call in telling that piece of hot garbage that the U.S. Senate sent to us in the dead of night by a voice vote with only 5 members present on the floor of the United States Senate. He told them hell no. Every member of the House Republican Conference supported Mike Johnson. Where this fall has fallen apart is the U.S. Senate. Number one, you have Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats who refuse to let a homeland funding bill go forward because they want open borders and they want to defang and defund ICE operations. What they chose not to fund was one of the investigative programs looking for the more than 300,000 children that the Biden administration lost on purpose when they threw our borders open and did no interior enforcement. And then the second piece of this failure is that John Thune cut a deal with Chuck Schumer to allow a voice vote at 3 a.m. when the rest of the country was asleep. 5 senators were on the floor of the Senate, and they decided to make a decision on behalf of everybody else.
John Thune is terrible. Can we all agree right now? He is Kevin McCarthy-esque. John Thune is a weak Senate Majority Leader. He should have never been Senate Majority Leader. We should have dodged that bullet months ago. We should have got somebody like Rick Scott in there, somebody who would put America first and the agenda of the president on the table. John Thune, though, he doesn't have time for this stuff, guys. He doesn't have time for standing filibusters for the Save America Act. He doesn't have time to negotiate with Democrats. He doesn't have time to nuke the filibuster. You know what he has time for, though? Dog parades. That's right. Dog parades. Not a joke. I'm honestly, John Thune is more infuriating than the Democrats, right? Because the Democrats, we know who they are. They are well open with it. John Thune tries to act like he's a big bad Republican and America first MAGA guy. He's just not. He's not at all. He's weak.
Well, that was dead on arrival in the House. Last night, members stayed longer because we made sure that we sent a funding bill for the next 60 days to cover all of the Department of Homeland Security, and that went right back to the Senate. So I would urge my Senate colleagues, Republican and Democrat, go back to D.C., finish the job so these agents can be paid and so our nation can be safe.
Amen. I mean, that's what we want. Just go to work, please. Can you actually do the work of the American people? That would be great. They're all on vacation, though. All of them. They're. I don't think they're coming back. If I'm just being real, would you? They left. Lindsey Graham was spotted at Disney World over the weekend. Weird. He said he was down there for business and that he met some friends in Orlando. Still weird. Tim Burchett not happy about the situation at all.
I think we need to get back to work, man. We used to say in the state legislature, you shouldn't have hired on if you didn't want to work, and clearly they don't want to work. But honestly, I do more work when I'm at home. You know, I can't get used to those 2-hour work weeks when I'm in Washington waiting on the Senate to budge on something. And that's clearly what's going on here. And Harvey's right at TMZ. He is correct. I hope they bust some people on this thing because this is ridiculous. America's suffering. We're paying more at the pumps. Excuse me, we're paying more at the pumps. These ridiculous lines. We're forcing TSA agents to work for free multiple times this year, and yet Congress has continued to be paid.
It's been about 50% of the fiscal year that TSA has not been receiving paychecks. 50% of the fiscal year. Could you survive your bills if you didn't get your check on time 50% of the time? Serious question. I'm not the biggest fan of TSA. I think it should be privatized, and I've made that case before, but these are working Americans, moms and dads in there. They got to put food on the table and pay the rent. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
That's why I've sponsored legislation to do away with that. When the government's in a shutdown or a partial shutdown as this is, we shouldn't get paid, but Amen. We're a bunch of spoiled brats, ma'am. And, you know, I get sick and tired of congressmen saying they can't, you know how much money I could make if I just went home and worked? Well, dadgummit, go home. More people have played professional baseball than have been in the United States Congress. You need to treat it as, I treat it as an honor. Every time I get off that plane and look at that Capitol, I get chills. And when you don't, you need to pack it up and come home, ma'am.
Tim Burchett, absolute gem. That wasn't the biggest statement that Tim Burchett made over the weekend. He's not happy, but the thing that caught a lot of attention was when Burchett apparently demanded to oust Senator John Thune from the leadership position.
I think he made a huge mistake, ma'am. 83% of the population supports President Trump at Save America Act, which they should. He ignores that. And you as a member of the media ought to be disgusted at the fact they passed that thing at 2:25 in the morning and left all the other senators kind of hanging. All he had to do is have 5 of his cronies on the floor. He cuts a deal with Schumer. Obviously, the leadership in the Senate, and that's on both sides of the aisle, has a real disgust for this president and House leadership because they didn't even have the guts to call Speaker Mike Johnson and let him know what happened. The whole deal of, you know, the stereotype of Congress is, and it's well deserved, is that we pass stuff in the dark of night because we don't have any guts, and that's clearly what's shown in the Senate leadership. I think they need to get some new leadership over there, in my opinion.
I think so too, Congressman Burchett. Leader John Thune, don't worry, he's working. He's working very, very hard with Chuck Schumer to figure out if Democrats will pass any DHS funding after the House passed a CR with ICE funding. So Thune, instead of doing something like nuking the filibuster, is going to work with Democrats instead. But the calls are getting louder for Senator Thune to nuke the filibuster. We have quite a few individuals speaking up. One of them is, maybe you've heard of him, President Trump. President Trump said that the Republicans are going too soft on the Democrats, and they have to nuke the filibuster. He actually called on John Thune to be a leader and nuke the filibuster. This was last night on Air Force One, President Trump with these comments.
Told me that they do not have the votes to terminate the filibuster.
I know, but that's part of being a leader. You have to get the votes.
Do you have confidence?
I mean, I like him so much. He's a high-quality person. And he told me the same thing. We don't have the votes. Well, he's only a couple of votes short, but That's what being a leader is. You have to get the votes. You have to get the votes. And those people will not be able to withstand the onslaught because Republicans and the country wants it. You know, it's polling at 87% voter ID. Think of it. We're talking about Save America, and it's not Save Act, it's Save America Act, because it's saving America. Save Act, nobody knows what it's saving. It's the Save America Act. And you have to have it. You have to have it. The Save America Act, voter ID, all of these things, proof of citizenship. It's an 87% issue with all voters, including Democrats. The only ones that don't want it are Schumer and these corrupt Democrat leaders, because it will not give them the ability to cheat in an election. Look, why wouldn't you want voter ID? There's not a reason in the world you wouldn't want it except to cheat. And if they don't cheat, their policy is so bad, they'll never win another election.
That was President Trump last night on Air Force One, telling Leader Thune, listen, if you don't have the votes to nuke the filibuster, go get the votes. That's what being a leader is all about. And I keep coming back to this, and I was thinking about this a lot last night. Imagine how much further we'd be down the field if we already nuked the filibuster. Imagine how much we could have already gotten done. Yet this conversation isn't going away, and it's not going away because the Republicans can't do anything. We don't have a majority for long. And if things continue on this trajectory, I'm not sure we have a majority after midterms. And then we're stuck with a lame duck president. And then we're stuck with a lot of what ifs. There's common sense stuff that we can get past today if we were to nuke the filibuster. Let's do it. Can we just do it? Byron Donalds is a fan.
Look, number one, it's time for the Senate filibuster to end. We are witnessing what happens with that. It does not breed compromise. What it breeds is pure obstruction. It's not helping the country. There are many public policy issues that simply cannot be solved because Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats want to oppose Donald Trump and this administration because they want to score political points.
Yep.
It's not just the ICE agents that are not being funded. It's our border agents that are not being funded as well. They're not being paid. You have members of the Coast Guard not being paid, Customs not being paid, members of Secret Service not being paid. This is a travesty. And I get it. The Democrats want wide open borders and no enforcement of immigration and customs, but they lost the presidential election in 2024. And the number one reason they lost that election is because their radical open borders policy, which has led to the death of young women all across America at the hands of criminal illegal aliens. The United States of America and our people said absolutely not. So this rises and falls with Chuck Schumer. I would say for Leader Thune, he's got to wise up and realize this is not 1995 anymore. These aren't the old Clinton Democrats that you could get into a room and negotiate with in good faith.
He's absolutely right. I mean, we have witnessed the extinction of the moderate Democrat. Things aren't the way they used to be, Leader Thune. So leaning on Senate tradition isn't going to advance the ball down the field. It's just not.
These people are radical. They are unhinged. They have an ideology that does not support the American people, our Constitution, or quite frankly, Western civilization. And so if they're not going to negotiate, then you got to just roll them over, get rid of the filibuster, pass the spending bills, and let's get that piece of the government back open. It's what Donald Trump has been calling for.
Yep.
It's what myself and many of my colleagues have been calling for. We have seen enough. And the Democrats, to be blunt, they're not living in political reality. They want to change the political reality of the United States, and they just want power. That's what this is about.
Amen. I mean, could you say it any better than Byron Donalds right there? Rick Scott attempted to over the weekend at CPAC. Rick's, we heard from Donalds, who's he's a member of Congress in the House, and Birch is in the House, but the Senate is where this needs to get done. Rick Scott should be the Senate Majority Leader. I wish he was the Senate Majority Leader because we need a Senate Majority Leader that speaks like this.
Look, you and I didn't vote for President Trump so his agenda wouldn't get done, right? We didn't vote for him so his agenda would be blocked. So some people say there's nothing the Senate can do about it. That actually is not true. First off, don't you think it's time we pass the Save America Act? How about, should we keep our border closed and deport every violent illegal alien in this country? Is it time we get tough on China? They want to demolish our way of life. It's time we do what Trump said, put America first. Now, not here, but in D.C., this will be very controversial. But there's a way to get the president's agenda done. There's a way to help get every promise he made accomplished, everything he ran on 2024. And you know how to do that? We need to blow up the filibuster. So, it's time we pass all of his common sense ideas with a simple majority vote. Now, the filibuster. The filibuster was never supposed to be used to stop a bill. It was actually never supposed to be used to stop a nomination. It was supposed to be used to allow a debate and then a simple majority voted. 51 votes, it passes. So I think it's time we actually stand up for what we all believe in and what Trump ran on. What we believe in is popular. What we believe in wins votes. We'll win in November with what we believe in, and actually what we believe in is absolutely right. It's time to stop allowing a few senators with Trump derangement syndrome from trying to stop every idea he has and pass his agenda.
Amen. So it's 10:52. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
So, just how long will the war in Iran drag on? Well, we'll have the latest estimates on that. And, of course, we're all feeling pain at the pump. We may have to get used to that. All of that coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Jay Harper in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. 58 minutes past the hour, and you can find me on every social media platform that matters. Twitter, True Social, Instagram, TikTok, occasionally Blue Sky for a little bit of trolling, at Chris Hand on air. We were talking about nuking the filibuster. Donald Trump went hard against it on Air Force One last night. He's in favor of it. He said, John Thune, if you don't have the votes, go get the votes. That's what being a leader is all about. J.D. Vance echoing those statements from the president over the weekend as well.
The problem is we actually do not have 50 senators, not who would vote for the SAVE Act, but who would overrule the filibuster. That's something that a majority of the Senate, you need 50 senators plus me, and I'm certainly on board, 50 senators to actually overrule this archaic rule and pass the Save America Act. Now here, this is the thing that I find so absurd about this. If you remember, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, two people I didn't always agree with politically, moderate Democrats, but very good people. They are the people who saved the filibuster when the Democrats were in control of the Senate just a couple of years ago. What happened to them? They were tarred and feathered by the far left. They were ran out of town. So when Mitch McConnell and Lisa Murkowski say, well, we need to protect the filibuster because the Democrats, they're not going to do it, so we shouldn't do it either. The Democrats ruined the career of Kyrsten Sinema for not overruling the filibuster. They're going to do it. So we might as well do it now to enforce the protection of the American electoral system. It's the dumbest political argument I've ever seen. I promise you, Benny, I would bet every dollar that I own that the next time the Democrats have control of the Senate, they will break the filibuster, pack the Supreme Court, and destroy this country. We have to do it now in order to save the country.
Amen, Mr. Vice President. We've been saying that on the Chris Hand Show for a while. You think the Democrats wouldn't do this? By the way, have you seen how radical the Democrats are? Over the weekend, they actually were very, very successful, keeping us king-free with the No Kings protests, but they looked just absolutely insane. You had all sorts of flags out there. You had the Palestinian flag, you had the Iranian flag, you had the communist flag, and you also had a very diverse group of individuals. Well, actually, not the last part. It was mostly just boomer liberals. Yep. We'll bring you all the greatest hits from the boomer liberals, and we'll talk about where those No Kings protests went off the rails and arrests were made on the way. It's 11 o'clock. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is coming up on 11:01 a.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll get you a full forecast here in a few minutes, but first of all, a quick traffic note. If you're on I-65 northbound, headed up toward the Goodlettsville area, well, Vietnam Vets between exits I-65 rather. I-65 northbound between Vietnam Vets and exit 98. There's construction up there, and you're going to sit in the traffic a while. It's pretty jammed up. Now for the news, the fighting in and around the Middle East isn't stopping anytime soon. Iran has struck an Israeli refinery, and it's threatening violence against American and Israeli military bases and civilians in the region. This as more U.S. Marines have arrived, and President Trump has been suggesting that the U.S. could try to take control over the oil-rich Iranian island known as Karg Island. We hear now from ABC's Karen Travers.
The president has also not commented specifically with a yes or no about the potential of a ground invasion, saying last night to reporters, I have lots of alternatives. But now as the war is entering its fifth week, the military presence in the region is certainly growing. And the White House says that the president is getting these options from the Pentagon to have military assets in the region for, quote, maximum optionality.
Experts are warning now of the possibility of long-lasting economic ramifications from the war.
The price of oil globally around $115 a barrel. The price of gas nationally just under $4 a gallon. And now the USDA is out with a forecast on the cost of food, which will soon jump even more because so much fertilizer moves through the Strait of Hormuz. Grocery bills expected to be about 3% higher this spring. 4% more is how much you could pay if you're eating out at a restaurant.
That's ABC's Sherry Preston. More than 60,000 TSA officers have missed 2 full paychecks since the partial shutdown began. Record numbers of officers have called out of work in recent days as security lines at some busy airports have stretched all the way outside. But for the first time in a month and a half, TSA officers are expecting to get some money in their bank accounts. Here's ABC's Will Reeve.
On Friday, the president signed a memo to redirect funds to give TSA officers their back pay as lawmakers failed to reach a deal to restore funding before leaving for a 2-week congressional break. TSA officers say today's paycheck can't come soon enough.
The mental strain of not going to work or going to work and not getting paid for 3 out of the last 5 months is just unbelievable.
Security lines have slowed to an hours-long crawl at some of the nation's busiest airports.
That is the latest news. We've got the weather on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
It's 7 minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Another busy weekend for the radical leftists. No Kings. No, is this No Kings 3? It's No Kings 3, right? This is the third time they've done it?
Yeah, this is the third time they've done it.
Oh, it's just as good as the first one, right?
Yeah, it never gets old.
Oh, it's so good. So it actually displays both sides of the extremes in the left, right? You either have the absolute evil that we saw in L.A. with Antifa members throwing bricks at police officers and the funding mechanism behind the radical elements of the left. And then on the other side of that coin, you have the leftist idiot who is just being used as that, a useful idiot that has no real idea why they're there in the first place. All of these individuals are under the same umbrella. That is the Democrat Party. And it's a bit embarrassing, no matter which side you're on. Let's start with the funding behind it. It has been confirmed that the No Kings protests are being funded by 500 organizations throughout the country with about $3 billion in annual revenue nationwide. This was exposed by Fox News over the weekend.
From these 500 groups with, get this, a $3 billion budget collectively. And where does their political influence, their political contributions, and their, individual employee donations go, but mostly to the Democratic Party. And that's why we see this silence. And unfortunately, they pull their punches on the issues that matter to you, for example, that you just cited, because that would mean turning against the Democratic politicians that they're trying to keep in power.
A lot of the funding comes from, George Soros. And where George Soros pops up, so does the Brick Ferry occasionally. I didn't see any pallets of bricks being dropped off, but I did see a lot of violent Antifa members in Los Angeles taking cinder blocks, smashing them up, and using the broken pieces to throw at police officers, ICE agents, and the like.
U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley posting on X, to those who were smashing concrete blocks and throwing them at our officers, we have you on video. We will find you and arrest you too. You've been warned. The protests also became chaotic in Portland, Oregon, where an unlawful assembly was declared outside an ICE facility. In Dallas, No Kings protesters and a pro-America demonstration clashed, and the New York Post reports that the two groups had to be separated. Though in other cities, everything went smoothly, including New York, where the NYPD says they made 0 protest-related arrests. The flagship No Kings demonstration took place in Minnesota, the state where federal agents killed 2 U.S. citizens this winter during unrest over an immigration crackdown. Governor Tim Walz and Senator Bernie Sanders spoke at that rally.
Yeah, the big one was Minnesota. The violence was Los Angeles. But in Minnesota at the No Kings protest, Governor Walz, he pledged his allegiance to the Somalis.
And I will add a special thank you and a special acknowledgement that we will never leave the side of our Somali Minnesotans.
Even when you steal millions of dollars in autism fraud, right?
Here's our pledge to you. Our Somali Minnesotans, your great-grandchildren will still be here when that orange clown is in the dustbin of history. You will be here.
Stunning and brave. Everyone clapped. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, with the way the anti-fraud task force is moving and the opening they have to denaturalize and deport fraudsters, maybe they will, maybe they won't. Governor Walz, maybe. One thing is for sure, Governor Walz won't be the governor of Minnesota for much longer. But you have this protest movement being funded by these elite leftist billionaires. You have the politicians co-signing it every step of the way, and then you have the Antifa members throwing bricks. It's a perfect storm for the leftists. And on top of that, you had a lot of idiots in the street doing a lot of dumb stuff. I saw a video where, they'll say they're mostly peaceful and that ICE is evil and ICE is the Gestapo. There's a guy spray painting, "Kill your local ICE agent," on public buildings in Los Angeles. Kill your local ICE agent. Why do they wear masks? Why are they hiding their identity? As he spray paints, "Kill your local ICE agent" on public buildings. That's pretty much why. That would be one of the reasons. You also had protesters openly admitting that they are waiting for the president's death. Multiple people on camera captured with this same sentiment. This one was from D.C. The Daily Wire got the video. There's a woman who's holding balloons, and she's very excited.
I'm just waiting for the big, beautiful obituary, and I think a lot of people are waiting for that too.
When do you think that'll happen?
Sooner than later.
All right.
All right. With the weird smoking, why not cough? Okay. She's very excited. A lot of the No Kings protesters admitted on camera that these were professional demonstrators going state to state. I don't think this woman was supposed to admit this, but she said the quiet part out loud when it came to the protesters being bussed in.
Come on over here. So tell us where you from and tell us who you are.
I'm actually from Charlotte, North Carolina. My name is Michelle.
Michelle, why come to Fort Mill for this?
This is in South Carolina, mind you.
Actually, it's a good group of people here, and my friends are here as well. And we're here exercising our right of freedom of speech, of a peaceful protest. We're unhappy with the current administration, and we believe in freedoms, and we're here to make sure that our voice is heard.
And what freedoms have been taken away? Has any of the No Kings protesters been asked which of your freedoms has been restricted, ma'am? Which one? I'll wait. I don't think it's any, actually. Spoiler alert. I don't think any of your freedoms have been restricted. I think you're just mad because we're not prioritizing illegal aliens over American citizens, but here we are.
Every time as it's loud because you can hear the honking, how does that make you feel?
Actually, it feels wonderful. It really does. It reinforces what I believe in right now, and that we're on the right track, making things a big change right now.
And it's so important to hold that flag up, this flag that you have, because yeah, earlier you said you don't want to hit me with it. Lady Liberty hit me in the head. That's okay. That's okay.
Right. I was trying not to.
No, you were fine. I'm just saying you're going to hold it up. You're from Charlotte, you said. Are you going to go to any more of these protests?
Yes, we're probably going to go to the next one in Charlotte. Yes, we're going to try and make a rounds today, making a couple more. It's a time for our voice to be heard right now. We're tired of what's happening, and it's time for our voice to be heard.
I love it. She says she's going to make the rounds. You know, on Friday when we were talking about the No Kings protest, we were looking at the ones in Tennessee, and they were all staggered at different times. And I think that's part of what the design was. If we do it at different times, we can make it seem like every protest is packed as the protesters shift and shuffle all around their respective states. And that's what she said that they're doing there. We're moving around. We're moving around. We got to make our voices heard.
Now, with you being out here, what do you think that does for folks who you would say you want to gain their support or them to join you? What does being out here do?
It makes us laugh at you and doesn't make us encouraged in the least bit. In fact, I'm a little bit down on society when I look at individuals like you.
Well, I think a lot of times in the current administration, they maybe tried to silence us and not allowed to have a free voice of how we feel about certain things. And I think with all of us out here and making everybody understand that we do have the freedoms and we are allowed to say whatever we like to say, it's part of our constitutional right, and I still believe in the Constitution.
Oh, stunning and brave. Who has silenced you, ma'am? Who? And where was this energy about being silenced during the pandemic, when if you said, gee whiz, I don't know if this came from a pangolin at a wet market, you'd be removed from the internet? Or if you said, I don't know if I should take a vaccine that was rushed through development because I'm being forced to, you removed from the internet. When conservatives were being actually silenced, Democrats like this one were nowhere to be found. They said, good, you anti-science monster, how could you? These people don't actually have any free will or free thought. They're sheep. They are sheep being herded by individuals like George Soros and the Democrat Party. And if you need further proof of that, there's a video that was going viral where there's a woman there, and she says, she's holding the big sign, says, I'm going to be able to tell my grandkids that I wasn't being silent. I wasn't silent during this. So a woman with a camera said, okay, well, let's talk to her.
Your sign says that you'll tell your grandkids that you didn't stay silent. Would you like to share what you would like to say? No?
No.
So you did stay silent?
Yeah. I shout with the crowd. I'm not
are you going to tell your grandkids that?
Yeah.
Nice. Grandkids, back in the day, I stood there and I shouted with the crowd. I repeated all my chants. I knew every single line.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell my grandkids I didn't stay silent. Oh, would you have anything to say? Well, I shout with the crowd. It's not exactly something to be proud of. You ever see the pictures where it's like all the people doing this, the Heil Hitler, and there's the one guy with his arms folded, And it's like, be the guy with your arms folded. Like, this grandmother is essentially going, no, we're cool. Like, look I'm shouting with the crowd. That's what they're doing.
I'm clipping that.
You should. I did the salute on YouTube in case anybody wants to take it out of
Can
context.
you lower your hand just a little bit? I need to get it in the full frame. There we go. There's a similar image on our podcast image for this
so
past weekend.
funny.
Go check it out. Mostly Beesville.
But you understand the hilarity in this. I like to shout with the crowd. Actually, I'm more of a get in line with the group kind of person. Yeah, it shows. It absolutely shows. I can't believe that the left is celebrating these protests as a win. Did you see us? We were so mobilized. We were everywhere. I don't see this moving the needle at all. Everyone that was out there is already just extremely suffering from TDS. They're already deranged liberals. I don't think they won anybody over by standing on the corner. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm open to the fact that I could be wrong. Scott Jennings was talking about the No Kings protests, and he was like, guys, did you see all the flags that were flown? You had trans flags, hammer sickles, you had Iranian flags, and they weren't being waved by any of the members of those groups. They're all being waved by old boomers. It's embarrassing, and I don't mean to single out the boomers because we have plenty of great boomers in our listening audience who wouldn't be caught dead at a protest like this. But it seems like a lot of these cable news addicted boomers, especially in these blue cities, they have no thoughts of their own.
These No Kings rallies actually look pretty representative to me of the Democratic coalition. I saw people flying the hammer and sickle in New York City. I saw Hezbollah flags. I saw Hamas flags. I saw Palestinian flags. I saw trans signs. I see weirdo liberal boomers out there. This is pretty representative of the Democratic coalition, and that's who funds it as well, by the way. And so I think if America looks at this and says, what do the two parties stand for? They got it at the No Kings rally.
No, I think if you Americans were out there, Republicans.
You like hammer and sickle? You like hammer and sickle flag?
That's not what that No Kings stood for.
They had a bunch of them.
That, and that is,
they come from somewhere.
All right, No Kings rally? I did. I went to 6, and I'll tell you, there's so much excitement. 6? There's so much energy. Yeah,
that's a lot of free speech.
I'll get you a T-shirt.
That's a lot of free speech for a country with a king.
That's a lot of free speech. And I'll tell you.
I love how he said, I went to 6 of them. I went to 6 of the rallies. It's a lot of free speech. A lot of free speech for a country with a king. For the evil orange tyrant to allow this. I can't believe it. I'm stunned. I'm stunned. But it wasn't just the communist flags. It wasn't just the trans flags. It wasn't just the Palestinian flags. They were also waving Iranian flags. Did you see that? They were quite literally walking around with Iranian flags, protesting the war. They're just protest anything opposite of Trump. They're going to protest. It doesn't make any sense. Who are you protesting for in Iran? You understand what Iran does to protesters, right? 30,000, some odd of them were killed. Got it. Okay. Well, let's protest for Iran. One liberal woman was actually confronted by an Iranian because of the fact that they were flying Iranian flags. And this Iranian woman wasn't exactly happy that they were using her culture as a costume.
She's right. Iranians are asking for the bombs. Oh, no, they are. I'm a journalist. I'm in contact with Iranian youth who are asking to be bombed. And you are standing here supporting a terrorist regime. What are you doing supporting a terrorist regime?
So she's talking to a short-haired liberal woman who is holding up a sign that says, "Stop the bombing." And this Iranian reporter is just going right at her saying, hey, do you know what you're supporting?
Why are you supporting a terrorist regime? I understand bombing is bad. Convince me of what? Of rape? Of women not having no rights? I'm Iranian. I've been imprisoned by that regime.
She said, I'm not going to convince you. I'm not going to convince you. You know, all these liberals talk about all the rights that Donald Trump is taking away. Please, liberal woman, go to Iran if you would like more rights. If you want to protest the war in Iran, I think there's a time and a place for that. Let's be perfectly honest. But like, it's okay to protest the war in Iran without being pro-Iran. And these liberal protesters just went full pro-Iran. Make it make sense. It's 11:22. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We're all paying a fortune at the pump, so how long are we going to have to deal with this? We'll have the latest on that. And the U.S. Supreme Court, they are poised to make a monumental decision on birthright citizenship. We'll have the latest there. That's all coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Jay Harper in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. I just saw this come across my desk. There's backlash brewing on the Olympics. Did you see that? People are upset.
Which part?
They're mad that women with parts aren't going to be able to compete against women without parts.
Wait, what parts do you mean, Chris?
That one.
That one.
This new policy arguing that it discriminates against competitors who have disorders of sex development, like having higher testosterone levels than the average female. Another Olympic athlete who identifies as transgender non-binary said this, quote, "Attacks on trans people have consistently led to more policing and regulation of all women's bodies. Everyone is hurt by transphobia," end of quote.
Is it transphobia to not want to compete against a man when you're a woman? I don't think it is.
But one prominent figure in the world of sports media, legendary broadcaster Bob Costas, says this is a real victory for female competitors.
There are people who use this issue cynically for political purposes, and they're demonizing people who happen to be trans.
Whoa, I didn't know Bob Costas was a bigot.
Who should be treated with respect and dignity and understanding. However, common sense is not transphobic. There's a reason why the high school champions don't compete with the college champions. There is a reason why no trans man who was once a woman and has become a man has ever competed successfully with men.
Yeah, and everybody knows it. I mean, everybody. Even some of the libs' faves, like Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith were talking about this over the weekend. Stephen A. Smith is like, no. In no world is there an excuse for having a man compete against a woman.
You're a big sports guy, and this is a big issue more than sports. Olympics. What do you make of that story today? That the Olympics have said they are not allowing trans women anymore competing in women's sports. I imagine this is going to be an issue in the Democratic primaries. It's another one where you can make Democrats die on the hill that they died on last time.
If it's an issue within the Democratic Party, that's their own damn problem. Biological men should not be competing against biological girls in sports. Period. I am a supporter of the LGBTQ plus community. Yeah. I don't want to get in the way of anybody's civil rights, civil liberties, or anything like that. But what about protecting the young ladies? Young ladies going up against men, biological men. There is no excuse for that. And by the way, you know what? You could be, Liam Thomas, for example, was a male, and he was ranked like over 400. Now. Yeah, the swimmer. He was ranked like over 400th in the world. And then he became a she. Right. Okay, he became, transitioning, and number one. Well, damn it, does it really take an Einstein to realize that there's something wrong with that picture? I mean, are we kidding ourselves? No, but we're talking sports. That's my lane, and I'm telling you, there is no reason for a biological male to be competing in women's sports. We certainly don't see biological women transitioning and trying to compete in men's sports. I don't hear about that.
But is there, when the Democratic debates come, is there one candidate on that stage who's going to be clear like this, who's going to just say it outright like that?
No. And that could be a huge mistake for the Democrats as they try to seem more moderate, because that's the recipe for winning elections in 2026. 11:30, this is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 11:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A full forecast coming up in a few minutes. The fighting in and around the Middle East isn't stopping anytime soon. Iran has struck an Israeli refinery, and they're threatening violence against American and Israeli military bases and civilians in the region. This as more U.S. Marines have arrived, and President Trump has been suggesting that the U.S. could try to take control over the oil-rich Iranian island known as Karg Island. Gas prices here in the U.S., they're being hit hard, as we all know, even though the U.S. only gets about 20% of its oil from imports that go through the Strait of Hormuz. Patrick Dehan with Gas Buddy, he tells ABC News the oil market is integrated and global, so any disruption around the world affects prices everywhere.
The phrase energy independent gives the impression that the U.S. is somehow insulated from the price of oil or supply shocks elsewhere. But oil is globally traded. What oil comes from Texas can be replaced by something from Brazil, and something from the Middle East can head to China. It's a globally connected commodity. And so our barrels can be impacted because oil sellers, just like you and I might sell our house at the highest bid price, oil companies do the exact same.
The Supreme Court, they will consider President Trump's executive order abolishing birthright citizenship. ABC's Brian Clark says a man connected to a 19th century decision is speaking out on the issue.
The Supreme Court held in 1898 that anyone born in the United States is an American citizen under the 14th Amendment. Norman Wong's great-grandfather brought that challenge to the court.
My citizenship I took for granted since I was a child.
That challenge focused on the Chinese Exclusion Act, but President Trump says the 14th Amendment was really about former slaves.
If you could do away with a right through the constitutional amendment system, then those actually don't matter anymore.
Back here in Tennessee, Governor Bill Lee may consider a bill today that was passed by House Republicans on Thursday. It makes it a crime for public officials to release confidential immigration enforcement information. It comes after Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell was tied to the release of ICE officers' names during ICE arrests in Nashville last year, an incident the Tennessean calls inadvertent. The bill says public officials who do so will be removed from office. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And when something goes wrong in your home, you want a team that's going to show up, that fixes it fast, treats you like family. And that, my friends, is Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your trusted pros for total home comfort. And right now is the perfect time to upgrade. Maybe you've been kicking the can down the road because your AC went out towards the tail end of last summer. And you're like, we can deal with this. It's only a couple more weeks, and we'll deal with it next season. Well, next season is here, my friends, and before you know it, the hot temperatures are going to be here, and they're not going to be going anywhere. So if you need a new system, get yourself a 16-SEER high-efficiency HVAC system today, and you'll land some amazing TVA rebates to save some money. You'll also land a Yeti Tundra 45 cooler for free. So you'll save some money. You'll get a cooler for pool or beachside. It's going to be awesome. Also, if you need a whole home repipe, your plumbing needs some fixing, well, you'll get the Yeti Tundra 45 cooler for free as well. Even better with the rebates, Busy Bee is going to file all the rebates for you, so all you have to do is sit back and save money. You can also join the Beehive Club membership and keep your home humming year-round. Members get priority scheduling, discounted repairs, free annual HVAC and plumbing checks, plus extended warranties. Call them today. Take advantage of these deals. 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, or find them online, busybeehvac.com. 38 minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can find me all over social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, True Social. What was the other one? Blue Sky. I do the Blue Sky occasionally. Not as much as I did when it first came out.
Just use it for a little bit of trolling.
Well, we've been known to do a little bit of trolling. All of my social media platforms are the same, at Chris Hand on Air. Chris Hand on Air. Find me, hit the follow button. I will follow you back. My big ones are Twitter and Instagram. That's really where I'm cruising most days. So find me on social media. We appreciate you doing so. Do you think, here's maybe we do a YouTube poll. Do you think after having a nice weekend to relax and rest that Mason will be quick with the Lightning today? Or is he going to be a step slower because he's got a case of the Mondays? The people want to know.
Or is Mason not going to hit the Lightning because he's...
Maybe he's protesting.
Frustrated with Chris.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe.
Mason might know.
Only Mason would know.
Only Mason would know.
We're going to have to wait for a little bit of hindsight before we can come to a conclusion. So without further ado, it's time for the lightning round.
It's the lightning round with Chris Hand.
We do it every day at this time. The music hits. I do a little dance. For the friends on YouTube that are watching the video because the music's awesome. And then we cover all the stories that wouldn't fill a whole segment, stories that we ran out of time to talk about. And we like to call it the lightning round. Oh, that was way too quick. You hit it on the T. I'm waiting for the G.
You do the hand thing. You do the hand thing. I hit the button. I hit the lightning.
Okay. All right. Just tested the theory. It works. I got some good ones on the lightning round today. You ready? Oh. See, I knew if I said to the guy, is he going to be slow or is he going to be fast with the lightning?
No!
Oh, you hit the wrong one.
Did I?
Maybe. All right, I got first story in the lightning round. You ready for this? All right.
That time was the wrong.
All right, yeah, okay. All right. Let's derail everything. I got a story about puppies here, and you're gonna derail it.
Hi, my name's Mason Fleming. Have we met before? I derail things.
He's gonna derail it with Michael Scott. It's okay. This is a good news story. Do you remember Anthony Fauci? Do you remember what he did?
Name rings a bell.
And this is, well, okay. When I say, do you remember what he did? I feel like that's rather vague. Do you remember when he helped lock down the entire country and tried to force you to get an experimental jab? I mean, that could be part of it.
Rings a bell.
That could be, everybody might remember that. But do you remember that he had other movies out too? And one of them was torturing beagles. Do you remember that? He had like fleas eating the faces of beagles.
Oh, yeah.
In his medical experiments. Well, the Trump administration and President Trump's FDA is abolishing inhumane treatment and testing of beagles, chimpanzees, and other animals. This is a good thing. I wonder if you went to the No Kings protest yesterday, because I would imagine a lot of the leftists in that audience are very PETA-friendly, right? Very, very much cat moms and fur babies. If you said, hey, President Trump's administration is doing this, is that a good thing? I wonder if they would have a malfunction in their brain where this does not compute. President Trump did something good? What? He did. They're going to be protecting animals. The FDA is issuing new guidance to phase out animal testing.
Scientists have really preyed on beagles because beagles are docile animals. They do what you tell them to do. And so it's really kind of sad to see where we've come in science. Now, the beagles that were housed in kennels at the FDA's owned facilities are no longer there. Those kennels are empty. And so we are making massive strides to reducing animal testing in different classes of medications on a roadmap that we have. I'm also proud to report that you no longer need to submit data using 144 chimpanzees for a class of drugs called monoclonal antibodies. That was things like Regeneron during the pandemic. So we're making massive strides. We believe in this. This is part of our MAHA agenda, and I also think it's just common sense and humane.
Amen. Common sense and humane. We shouldn't be torturing beagles or chimpanzees with medical experiments. I'm a fan of this. To a certain extent. Some things, I don't know if you should test on humans, but with the stuff that we heard coming out of Fauci's lab of horrors with what they were doing to those beagles, we don't need any of that either. I think that there's a good middle ground here, and I'm sure the Trump administration will find it. I got another story for you here in the lightning round. That was a good lightning hit. That was good. This happened over the weekend. NORAD had to scramble some jets because a private aircraft entered a no-fly zone near President Trump in Florida over the weekend. Now, here's the crazy part. I don't think this was nefarious at all. I think this was an accident. I think the guy had the absolute crap scared out of him by a couple of F-16 jets because they had to do a few things to get his attention. Listen to this.
John, good afternoon. President Trump remains at his Mar-a-Lago estate. He's due back to Washington a little bit later this evening, taking off around 6 o'clock. What happened earlier today was in the 1 o'clock hour, about 1:15, where NORAD says they dispatched F-16 fighter jets after a private aircraft entered what's considered a no-fly zone, or a TFR, temporary restrictions, near where the president was. No matter where the president goes, the FAA, the Secret Service, they create these areas where they don't want any aircraft to be in. What was more interesting in this case is NORAD says the F-16s, when they got up next to that private plane, they had to dispatch flares to get the pilot's attention. And you can imagine if you're on the ground, you would see those flares next to another aircraft. It would certainly get some attention. I haven't seen any video of that on the ground from people who may have seen it, but NORAD says if you were there and you did witness something around 1 o'clock today here in the South Florida area, that's what it was.
Could you imagine being so asleep at the wheel as a pilot that you don't even notice that two F-16 jets are now next to you and they have to shoot off some flares? Wouldn't you be terrified? I feel like you'd be terrified. I feel like there would be a mess to clean up inside of that cockpit. At least there would be if it was me. You look left, you look right, and there's two jets. Oh, geez.
This aircraft was quickly able to get out of the area that the restricted airspace was in. I talked to the Secret Service. They said at no point was there any threat to either the president or Air Force One. And the reason I bring that up was earlier today, if you were online, there was a video that went viral of a woman on board a Delta plane, and the pilot was speaking, and the pilot had said that there had been some drones spotted near the president's plane, which is parked at Palm Beach International. That was not the case. Secret Service says that was a miscommunication. There was nothing to do with drones, and instead it was all regarding this private aircraft that temporarily got into where this restricted airspace was, where the president is. You can imagine, John, security restrictions remain tight. There's been a lot of concern about anything and everything that could be near where the president is. And we have seen these type of violations before. This is not a first time by any stretch, but flares being used to get the attention of the aircraft to get the person the heck out of there. You can only imagine what it was like for that pilot. No indication who that person was. But again, Secret Service saying there was no threat to the president's safety.
Yeah, I mean, that's good that there was no threat. I do wish I saw the video. I wish somebody had gotten video of those flares being shot. I spent quite a few hours scouring the internet last night. Didn't come across that video once. Wish I had. If we do find it within the next couple of days, we'll bring it for you here on the YouTube stream because I bet you that is a sight to see. I got another story for you here in the lightning round. In the lightning round, there it is.
Shenanigans! Shenanigans!
I mean, as soon as you compliment the guy, everything falls off the rails again.
Listen, I got to keep you on your toes. If you expect excellence all the time, then I'm going to get real tired back here.
I won't expect excellence all the time. You have nothing to fear. Sorry.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Okay. All right. Next story in the lightning round. This one comes out of California, where residents are a bit ticked off about what you might say. Is it the human feces and the needles on the streets? Is it the home, the tent cities? Is it, it could be anything. It could be anything, really. No, this one comes out of the Palisades, so it goes back to the wildfires that happened quite a while ago. Residents are upset because while there's no home on the lot, because the fire took it out, they are now receiving water bills from the city. And they said, hey, bro, haven't used any water lately, actually.
So you don't even have a meter still on this property?
No, there's nothing. It was right here on the side of the house.
Ricky Parrish says even the water meter on his lot was destroyed. His property right now is mostly bone dry dirt.
If you're watching us on Super Talk TV, I mean, it showed his lot. It's just that. It's just a lot. There's dirt. There's some wood. Looks like they're going to get building soon. There's a nice fence around the lot, but that's it. No sinks, no toilets, no hoses, no water meter. Yet our boy Ricky, he's got to pay his water bill.
Dirt. Ricky says he was stunned when earlier this month he saw this bill for $37.85. Most of it is for a water service charge. A few bucks of the bill are for a catastrophic loss fund.
I thought this is ridiculous. How can they charge us for something that we don't have? We haven't used water in over a year.
I think that this is something that is outrageous.
Retiree Cynthia Pareo received the same bill after the fire turned her home to ash.
You know, I retired and I'm on a fixed income. And so, you know, we're on a really serious budget now.
Both Cynthia and Ricky are customers of the Lincoln Avenue Water Company based in Altadena. The company declined our request for an interview, but
I'm sure. Why would they want to do an interview? Why does anybody stay in California at this point? Is there any reason to stay in California? I mean, honestly.
I was going to say In-N-Out, but it's here now, so
it's
it doesn't
here.
even matter.
It's here now. We don't even have to worry. Like,
well, wait, hold on. Don't all of them move to Tennessee, please. But
no, nobody's asking for that.
No, go to South Dakota.
Mississippi's really nice. I've heard good things about Missouri,
Utah,
Kansas.
Wow.
I mean, Utah's great if you like Space Jesus.
Yeah, if you want to maybe get your own planet someday.
That's that's an option.
It's an option.
I think New Mexico's underrated for liberals. I mean, there's plenty of places besides Tennessee.
Yeah.
But why would you want to stay in California? Got to pay water bills where you don't use any water. Hey, I got another story for you here from California in the lightning round.
I almost hit it when you said California.
It's the instinctive reaction, like you feel like God's going to smite them soon.
Yeah, you said in the California, and I was like, wait, hold on.
Did I say in the California?
In the California round.
I got another story for you here in the California. In the lightning round. This one comes out of Home Depot. 4 illegal aliens were just arrested for the largest nationwide robbery in Home Depot's history. $10 million lifted from the store. If you're watching on Super Talk TV, don't get any ideas because they show a lot of the strategy that these illegal aliens have when stealing stuff off the high shelves. You ready?
Surveillance video shows thieves pocketing merchandise inside a Home Depot store in California. Investigators say the group is linked to more than $10 million in stolen merchandise. Channel 2's Michael Seiden reports from Cobb County how they're even linked to arrests made right here in the metro.
So investigators say this criminal operation stretched across the country, actually ended up right here in metro Atlanta with millions of dollars in stolen goods. And now we're showing you how it all worked. Surveillance video captures one of the suspects inside a Southern California Home Depot stuffing his jacket with electrical breakers, each one worth about $100. Investigators say during that same visit, he uses a long pole to pull down boxes of electrical equipment from high shelves. And when those items are locked up, authorities say he just climbs the racks to get to them.
I mean, the guy went full Spider-Man. You're not supposed to go full Spider-Man. This illegal alien went full Spider-Man. They're used to scaling fences. Is that bad? Maybe that's bad. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I already did, so we're moving on. You had illegal aliens stealing electrical supplies and then selling them to electricians for a profit.
Investigators say this wasn't just one brazen theft. They believe this was part of the largest organized retail theft operation targeting Home Depot in the company's history, with more than $10 million in stolen merchandise seen here linked to California alone.
Now, this thing spanned across the country because, as you know, thanks to our good old buddy 46, Joe Biden, every state is now a border state. So while this started in California, it stretched all the way to Atlanta. I wouldn't be surprised or shocked in the least bit if we had a couple Home Depots down here in Tennessee getting knocked off as well. $10 million. However, it has come to an end. 4 illegal aliens who were responsible for this largest nationwide robbery in Home Depot's history have been arrested. We'll follow the story and see if there's a nice judge that will let them out early on good behavior.
You right to jail.
That's what they do.
Right to jail.
No, they don't do
right to jail. Right away.
Well, that's what we should do, but they don't. People don't think it'd be like it is, but it do. 11:53.
People be sexting.
11:53. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 58 minutes past the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. We got Jay Harper in the newsroom, Mason Fleming producing, and Chad Benson in studio. I did the air quotes for everybody on Super Talk TV.
He's screwing around.
This guy. What are we going to do with him?
I don't know. He's got his regular hat on today, though. He doesn't have the Popeye hat on.
No.
His sailor hat. I like that. He looks like he's a longshoreman or something. He wears that other hat.
I like to think that he looks like, you remember the 1960s Batman?
Mm-hmm.
That hat reminds me of what one of the Penguin's henchmen would wear.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
With the long trench coats. They're going to go fight you in the alley.
Yes, like Henchman 1. Henchman 2.
It could be him.
I feel like he's more of a Henchman 3 or 4 kind of guy.
Does he get a...
He's the muscle in the back.
He's the muscle in the back, and he doesn't get a line.
No.
He's just there for scares.
But it's like after Batman goes through the first 3, then comes the big guy, and Batman's got to work him over, and that's like the final level.
He's got a pow, bang, boom.
Yep.
Nice.
What are you talking about today?
We'll probably talk a little bit about Iran, a little bit about Tiger Woods, a little bit about, we got all kinds of stuff to talk about, some of the voucher stuff as well, because there's a debate out there that, the vouchers here, people are starting to do their due diligence, and several have found, hey, maybe it's not going to the people that need it. Maybe it's going to the people that are already using certain things.
So, all right. So tomorrow on the show, Erica Donalds, the wife of Byron Donalds, she's pushing for like school choice everywhere. And they want to come on. And I was like, I have some serious concerns about school choice. I just do. Like, I don't like our tax dollars going to Islamic schools. I don't know how you stop that if you're allowing them to go to Christian schools, for starters. And then the other part of it is, okay, if a private school costs $15,000, what's $7,000 going to get you?
Exactly.
And if you're a struggling single mom with 3 kids, can you come up with an extra $21,000?
No.
Do you know what I'm saying?
You're the kid I like the most. You're the only one that I think get through private school.
I love the idea of school choice.
The execution.
It all goes down to the execution. Like, I'm not against it, but you have to make this make more sense to me than it's making right now.
Yeah.
Because right now, I see funding our cultural replacement happening, and I don't see a lot of the low-income students getting the benefit that they were told they would get from this.
And I feel like also that our legislators are hiding some of that stuff in the background. There's not a lot of transparency there, and I want some transparency with all this.
At the same time, we're spending a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, there's serious questions here. Like, school choice, the theory, great. What does it look like in practice?
Amen, brother. That's what we're going to talk about today.
All right, Chad's in next. It's 12:01. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.